Mabuhay, Kamustago, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. A dose of reality for traveling gorilla TV. I'm going to take the opportunity to respond to a gentleman's comments in a live stream of his that I will link at the top of the description box. It's called Hey Dr. Bob Philippines. Filipinas are not goddesses by Traveling Gorilla TV. I will also interject the real way to be successful with a Filipina, or really any woman, throughout the video. That's what I'll talk about when you subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea. Comments are welcome. Share videos with anyone you think might want to learn about foreigner and Filipino relationships. So some of the comments made by Traveling Gorilla TV made me go back and watch the 451 uploads I have, because the comments he made, didn't necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the staff of Love Beyond the Sea. Now, 451 videos is a lot, and I certainly needed the aid of these eye drops after that. Now, I don't remember everything I say in that many videos, but I know that some of the things he said are definitely not true. So I will tell you where in the video of his I saw these comments that I need to straighten out. Then we can all go back inside, because there's nothing to see here. Early on in his live stream, which was over an hour and 14 minutes long, he talked about, quote, hoops you have to jump through in order to marry a Filipina, end quote. I think he was assuming that this is what I was saying, but considering we got married in less than 8 weeks, there couldn't have been too many hoops for us. By the way, I didn't get lucky. I avoided a lot of not so good prospects over the years that could have changed the course of my life. As for hoops, you talk to a Filipina regularly to see if you're compatible, then you ask her to marry you. If she says yes, then good for you. If she says no, good for you also. That frees you up to keep looking, and the sooner you find out about incompatibility or qualities you decide you just can't live with, the better. And of course, you watch out for red flags. Some of them are obvious, like sending money before you've even met each other for the first time. So at the 2-minute 54-second mark, he said, I think a man must spend, me saying this apparently, a man must spend $80, $90, $100,000 on a house in the Philippines. Or he was saying that I did this as an inducement for my wife to marry me. And this is patently false and misleading, since that's not what I have said throughout my videos. For one thing, and listen up, we had been married for 3 years before the subject of building a house in the Philippines even occurred, so it couldn't have been an inducement at all. Also, aren't there many men who married a Filipina and have not or don't intend to build a house in the Philippines? Of course there is, and they will tell you they are pleased with each other. Another thing to note about the quote, mansion, unquote, as it was referred to, is that this is our house for when we stay in the Philippines and when we retire there. It wasn't an incentive for her to marry me. Since it is our house, we are both paying for it, as my wife works full time. That's what she wanted to do. In fact, what she pays each month for this house in the Philippines is 4 figures, what she agreed to pay each month. We're both paying for a house, which is what most people do, I would think, since it's their house. At 3:16, Traveling Gorilla TV made the statement that he didn't want his Filipino wife in the workforce. Now, in our case, since we don't have children, my wife wanted to work. She's a quality employee. Why wouldn't I let her work? A Filipina doesn't want to have her husband pay for everything, especially for her family's needs. My wife takes care of that too. She considers it her responsibility, not mine. Because she works, she pays for several of our utilities as well, and pays a hefty sum for her own SUV. Because, being able to trust my wife with a job enables us to build the house that we did. Trusting your wife is one of the non-negotiable values a guy needs to have with any wife. Now, I get the impression that Traveling Gorilla TV believes that if someone has a big wad of cash, then they're on easy street with a Filipina. But I don't agree with that. I don't think that having a lot of money creates access to all women, nor do I believe that it's the recipe for a lasting marriage. Buying a Filipina a house and meeting all of her financial needs won't keep her with him either. There's more to it than that. It takes certain qualities that can be developed over time. He asked, if you remove money and house from the equation, then would my wife still be with me? He implies no, but I think that she would, because money and house and material things are not going to cover up for distrust, controlling behavior, selfishness, abusive treatment, lack of attention, use of pornography, and other destructive behaviors. I will link 3 videos I made to save time here. If you are inclined to watch, please avail yourself of why my Filipina wife won't leave me, why my Filipina wife won't cheat on me, and why my Filipina wife won't lie to me. No, my wife didn't marry me because I made promises of lots of money. I didn't talk to her about many specifics until she accepted my proposal and we had begun wedding preparations. And this was when I had arrived in the Philippines, and we got down to that kind of business. But she was going to marry me without certain knowledge of the future. A man should avoid discussing financials until they are prepared to get married, which is what we did. At the 6-minute mark, he mentioned that while I was in the Philippines earlier this year, that I was unhappy there, which is not true. I had made a video about waking up to loud karaoke one day that persisted for a while, but I was not unhappy about being there. Each time I have visited the Philippines, excuse me, the more I enjoy it, and the more I get comfortable with her family, and the more comfortable they become with me. What a blessing. Somewhere in his live stream, he said that, one day the family will have no use for me. And why would he assume that? I genuinely love them, and they know it. At the 7:20 mark, he made the comment that I considered a $100,000 house in the Philippines an expectation, or someone is a bad husband. I don't think anyone has to buy their wife a house, and I would not say that privately or publicly. A statement like that is preposterous. I also don't call my wife a goddess. She is an amazing woman, that's for sure, but let's be sensible here. What you will hear me say many times is, in a marriage, you have 2 sinners living with each other, and that is going to result in some friction now and then, what the Bible calls troubles in the flesh. That doesn't mean marriage is a bad idea. It is the grace of life and a necessity for most of us, I believe. My wife doesn't drink or go to nightclubs, which was something I was looking for. He had mentioned something like that in his live stream. And that's very difficult to find, it seems, but it was on my preferred qualities list, so I don't have to be concerned about her going out looking for or being approached by another man. I also trust her, as I said earlier. I admit to going all out in everything that means something to me. That is true, and that was the way I looked for a wife, although it took a long time. And I go all out for her now that we are married. Love Beyond the Sea is a channel that will talk about the many things a guy should do to make it work to earn his Filipina's respect. You see, as I have said before, I consider it the man's responsibility to lead in the relationship. I have 4 videos about the many little considerate things a husband can do to earn his Filipina's respect. At the 11:38 mark, he said, you can give her all the money, or she can give all the money to her family, and that she makes from working. While she technically could, that's not the arrangement we have worked out. She has her own 401k at work. She gets matched on that, so she will have that to bring to the Philippines with her someday when we retire. She buys her own clothes, accessories, whatever she thinks she needs or would like to have, and she is reasonable. She pays for several utilities of ours. My wife is a giver, not a taker. She pulls her own weight. At 14:40, the most caustic and false thing that he said was that I felt that, listen to this, every man who didn't buy his Filipino wife a $100,000 house in the Philippines was trash. I did not say that and would be a complete moron if I did. So nothing to see here. I may say things some people disagree with, but I certainly am not out here to make enemies. I hope this is a dose of reality to counteract some of the misconceptions Traveling Gorilla TV seems to have about me and Dr. Filipinas. Some behaviors that I think are irrefutable in making for a long-lasting and satisfying marriage to a Filipina or any woman are being unselfish, being kind, being able to defer to her a lot, not speaking harshly to her, complimenting her often, being a good listener, being affectionate with her, building her up, being able to forgive, trusting her, not controlling her, allowing her to develop skills at home or work, and being 100% committed to her well-being. I'm sure I left some things out, but that's the kind of things I talk about in this channel. My wife didn't marry for the money, and she isn't going to stay married for it either. I hope this straightens out some fallacies going on about love beyond the sea.